Hey guys, it's Winston Wolf 88. I did a video not too long ago showing how I how to take down my Whitney Wolverine, how to take it apart. Someone, a viewer of the video, sent a request. He said he'd like to see how to put it back together, and I thought that was a great idea since there are a couple of subtle nuances on putting this gun back together. I have the whole thing apart already. If you want to watch how it comes apart, I will leave a link to the video, the original video of me disassembling it in the description. The first thing I start with, I'm just going to go from as far as I took it down in the other video, because it's about as far as you need to take it down to clean it, really. I'll give a few tips on cleaning it as I go through, or how I do it anyway. I start with the breech block. I leave the extractor in there. Because it takes a few times going shooting before that thing gets like so dirty that it starts like getting messed up. This thing ejects casings really well, at least in my opinion. But leave that thing in there. Be careful, because if you push it from this side, it can fly out and shoot across the room. And if you have darker black carpet or something, it's not a good situation, because it is a very tiny piece. This whole thing is kind of put together already. So I said in the other one you can unscrew this and take it off, but to get this back on, screw it all the way and then back it off till the lines match up. And but anyway, so what you start with is you take the barrel assembly housing, which is this aluminum piece here, looks like this, and take the spring for the barrel and slide it in the back like that. Get it all the way to the front. Make sure you clean the inside of that really good. Because there's a lot of friction in there when the barrel moves back and forth. Next, you take the barrel and the ejector. Hold still there. The ejector is this piece. It looks like this little L-shaped piece, and that goes with the hook here, going facing the inside of the radius of the barrel. And you can see there's a flat part on this end of the barrel here, and with the flat part up facing away from you, the extractor would go in that little hole like that. If you can see it, it goes in that little hole there and sits with the hook facing inward. So once you got that together, make sure and hold your thumb on it, because it will come out if you don't. And hold it with the flat part down, and your thumb keeping that ejector in there. And then with this down like that, the barrel goes into the spring like that, and the extractor will slide right into the housing, fall down in, and you can push it down with the extractor, grab with your thumb here. You should be able to pull the whole barrel. I don't know why it's locked up. What is it hanging up on? It's just hanging up because it's being a pain. No, it's not. Why the heck is that hanging up in there? I ain't supposed to do that. Like I said, make sure this part is really clean. The inside of this, there's nothing in there for it to hang up on, so I don't know why it's hanging up, but either way. Let's try this again. Sometimes you hit little weird quirks like that, because this is a very old gun. And let's try that again. Flat side down. There we go. There, and see, went in just fine that time. But you should be able to pull it all the way forward like that, and you can feel there's a lot of friction between that barrel. See, that the little ejector in there will hold itself in place because it's sliding against the wall of the whole thing. So take that, set it aside. Next thing you do is take your breech block, which is this thing here, and make sure your barrel doesn't fall apart when you pick it back up. Okay. This won't keep itself straight unless it's pulled out of this here. So if you let it come all the way back, it can turn and come out. But anyway, pull this piece of barrel out just a little bit. I have to show you how to reassemble a table too, if I'm not careful. Okay. So pull the piece of barrel out just a little bit. Take the breech block and put it in like this. See how that goes in there. And now, once it gets in there, you can let the barrel back a little bit, and you see it slot in there really nicely. There shouldn't be any gap between that, and the extractor will fit in a little notch in the barrel, and the you can see that the ejector fits right here on a flat part of the bottom of the breech block. So then once you get that in there like that, push the whole thing all the way in, which can take considerable amount of force. Make sure and take a look here. Yeah, you want to line it up and get the whole thing pushed all the way in like that. Now you'll see that the cocking piece butts up against this aluminum part of the housing, the whole housing here, and you can see right through the breech block and the breech block and the housing, and that's what holds the whole thing together, and that's this little pin right here. So you take this little pin and put it right inside there. Super easy to do. You may have to mess with this just a little bit to get it completely lined up, because it does turn left, right, up, down, forward, backward, all over the place. So make sure, and this pin is kind of a tight fit, it's got to hold the whole thing together real well. So, no, we're doing this in one take, baby. I'm not chopping this thing all up. Okay. So now, once you've got that pin in there, that will hold this whole thing together, so you don't have to worry about it coming apart anymore. So next thing you do is take the firing pin, which looks like this. Firing pin. You have to line the cocking piece up with this little notch right here. You've got to both be facing up. You take the firing pin like this, you drop it right into the back there, and it should fall all the way down, or you have to push it. Either way, it should go in there flush. Then you take this tiny, it's probably the smallest piece on the gun, aside from the extractor, plunger, and spring. This is like the tiniest piece in the entire gun. It's very small. That goes into this slot right here, and what it does is it holds the firing pin in place so that it doesn't come sliding out. So get the firing pin all the way down, take this piece, put it in there just like that. It should sit flush, on the gun, just like that. See? So once that's in there, don't turn the barrel over, because that will fall out. So now you got to hold this thing upright for the rest of the time you're putting the gun together, to make sure that that doesn't fall out. The next part is piece I almost didn't pull out of the gun. This washer here, you see it has a tiny notch in the top. That notch is for a key. It's for this key right here. This little boat-shaped or car-shaped key. It's got it looks the same on both sides. I had to pin this just a little bit because it was too tight of a fit in the end of the barrel here for this gun. Now you take, you'll see that there's a slot in the top of the barrel. That's where that key goes. It slides into that slot. I'll show you exactly how it goes. Take the washer and put it on, and the washer, you should line up with the top of that. You should line up with the slot so that the key can go in it. Now this key, you take and you put on the front of the barrel like this, just like that, and you slide it back into the washer. If you have the finger dexterity to hold it in. It's a lot harder to do when you're like trying to show the camera and not yourself. But you can spin this thing with your thumb until it goes in there. Once that goes in all the way, remember to keep the whole thing upright so that this thing doesn't come out. And now, it's probably the part you have to be the most careful of, because that little thing right there, this table almost came apart again. This little thing right here has to go into a slot in the end of this right there. It has to go in from the back. Make sure the gun is cocked. It should be from when you took it apart. And slide this thing upright. Kind of try to hold it up toward the top, because if you if you push it too hard or jerk it or something, this pin will come sliding right out, and then you have to start all over again. So take the whole thing, very carefully walk it up into the gun, and then you may have to twist it left and right a little bit when you feel some resistance. But typically just slide it right up in there, and if you did it right, it'll go all the way up and it'll butt in right there, and you should be able to see the very end of that key right there in the top, and the barrel come out like that. You see the threads on the barrel. Looks like it's ready to accept a silencer. It's not. You have this little nut right here. That's what this looks like. You take this, and there's a machine side, and then there's a side that's like, it looks like, you can tell what the show side is. The show side and the business side. You take that, put it right on, twist it on righty-tighty, just like any other nut, and then hold the barrel in with your thumb like that. Push this little button in with your forefinger, and then turn that nut all the way until it stops. Once you get it in there, all the way till it completely is tight, because you don't want the barrel moving around in there. So make sure the barrel's pushed up all the way when you're tightening this nut down. You get to a point where, on my gun, it's right between, it's right on one of those cogs there. So you just grab it and turn it back one, and that button will hold it in place. Snap it in there like that. Then of course, rack it a couple times. Can't pull the trigger because this thing won't fire with the magazine out. But rack it a couple times, and you're good to go. That's how to put your Whitney Wolverine back together. It's kind of a pain. It takes some practice. The biggest thing is just don't lose any of the tiny little parts, because it needs, of course, every single one of them to function. So that's it for the reassembly of the Whitney Wolverine. Good luck doing it, and I'll talk to you guys later.